All right. Well, welcome everybody to College of Lore. My name is Kate.
And I'm Jill, and we're doing some world building today. College of Lore
Yay!
is going to be doing our very first campaign. I'll
So
be,
exciting.
yeah, and I'll be DMing. So today I thought we could kind of work together to create a world that we will inhabit together.
Yeah.
And I'll,
Yep.
I'll have a little bit of input and see what we get.
Yeah. So we're not planning to start the campaign probably for another couple months or
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
But obviously Jill needs to get certain things prepared in advance, so she's working on that.
Yeah, I've got some like
Yeah.
plot ideas and some hooks and stuff. Nothing super concrete because I wanted to see what everyone was interested in. Because if we end up with a world that's completely unlike anything I was imagining, which is quite possible, then I'll adjust my plans accordingly.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So
Cool. All right.
Kate's gonna be running the ship with typing in this little world building questionnaire I sort of
Yeah.
came up with.
Thanks for stopping by, Mad Haven. Says I can't watch right now, but have fun. I can't wait to see the replay. Sweet.
Also, yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, so we've got our little doc here with just a few things listed that we want to elaborate on. And yeah, I'll take some notes based on what we discuss. And this is definitely something that we are inviting you all to participate in with us. So
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that there's a lot of comments in the chat that we're reading and discussing and riffing off of to build this world. I know that at least Neil is there currently, but we did ask all of the players who are going to be involved in the campaign to be. Well, we told them about the stream. It's not
Yeah.
like it was mandatory for
No. Yeah.
participating, but yeah, I mean, so yeah.
I'm gonna poke Chrissy because they mentioned they wanted a reminder, so we'll see.
Oh, good call. Neil asks if he's famous now.
Yep.
Pretty much. You made it.
Okay. All right. So our first thing that I wanted to kind of address, and this might be something we come back to, or maybe this will become illuminated later.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's any interesting world hooks we could think of, so like if some examples I wrote there was just like a large event in history or an environmental oddity, some kind of massive
Mm-hmm.
rift between worlds or something, or maybe I don't know if we'd want to do a disease of some kind since we're kind of like living that right now in our real life. Um,
Sure. I mean, on the other hand, we've got a lot of ideas probably about that kind of thing as a
mhm,
result of having lived through it, right?
mhm.
So, an infestation of some kind of creature you put there. So this is basically just like,
Like, is there any big because like and if we decided on one of this that might not have much if anything to do with the plot. This could just be like maybe the world has been
like,
overtaken by crabs and now we live in this
right.
crab world,
Is
and
this
how does
kind of
that affect.
like what is the front page of the newspaper like right now in this world?
I was thinking of it a bit more like maybe 100 years ago it was on the front news, but now everyone's
We're
just
dealing with
living
the
with it. Yeah.
repercussions of
Like,
it.
is there anything that
Okay.
makes this world special or different compared to just picking up, like, the D&D source books? Like, are we,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Right.
like, what's different than Faerun, or what's different than. Okay, so Neil says, after the Black Plague, there was a lot of empty land. Things changed dramatically, so perhaps people are spreading out into the abandoned areas again. Oh, and Jake's
Hi,
here.
Jake.
Okay, so maybe we have a lot of um, small communities that are spaced out around these like vast areas of emptiness. That
Yeah.
could be
Or
one
like kind of
thing.
just like Yeah, that's an interesting idea, actually, if we do want to go with this plague sort of thing. But like maybe there was like a really long period where communities had to isolate. And
Mm,
so now maybe things are safe again and people are reaching out and finding who knows what, right? Like
yeah,
what has happened in the X years that all of these towns and communities have had to keep isolated.
yeah. I
Vast areas of
do love.
abandoned and like abandoned roads and villages for sure would be the
Mm-hmm,
most common thing,
mm-hmm,
but also like isolated areas that are surprisingly not abandoned, right?
mm-hmm.
And how have the people who are living in those areas changed or grown differently compared to others?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so um, some kind of plague. So the plague resulted in uh, many abandoned areas. So these
Mm-hmm.
are areas that were kind of like hit
Hot
hard with
spots, maybe.
some kind
Yeah.
of illness. Um, and also many areas that have been secluded, isolated
And maybe
for,
people at this point don't even know what the plague was exactly.
yeah. Yeah. So is this like something that has been
Like maybe
kind
it
of
happened 100 years ago, and people, or yeah, or hundreds
generations
of
ago?
years ago, and people aren't quite sure um, what that was or what that looked like, but they're calling it a plague now.
So the illness and isolation began generations ago and has,
And as Jake pointed out, I agree. It's that some groups are probably in denial that it even was a
yeah.
plague. Yeah, I like that.
But okay, so the illness and isolation began generations ago and has been maintained all this time, but people are starting to break out of isolation and explore the world again.
Mm-hmm. And
Some
Neil,
groups
yeah, Neil says religious
may,
implications. Only bad people died. The virtuous survived.
mm, so some
Yeah.
groups are in denial that the plague was even real.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe it wasn't. We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys won't know.
And then
Only I will hold
religious,
those secrets.
there's some religious groups who believe only bad people were affected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So that's kind
in
of,
some places.
yeah. So that's kind of the that's kind of the world we're in right now. Is that, wherever you guys
That
are
makes perfect
starting, maybe some of you have traveled and maybe you know a bit more than someone who's remained, but we will focus on one city for now. Um,
right.
and that'll kind of help us start the campaign out just kind of small so that I don't have too much work on the front end.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah,
a really good reason for having it isolated to the one town is that, maybe
yeah.
most of the people in the town don't want to leave. So,
Yeah, and it's like it that has been the status quo. Maybe
mm-hmm,
like I mean, you can start the adventure however you want, but
mm-hmm.
we're starting to see people like coming through the town again.
Yeah, yeah,
Or like approaching and
mm-hmm,
being like, well, what are these people doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. I think that's really good. And it leaves me a lot of room to play with the world around the town. And, but I mean, like, first foreign ships in the harbor, maybe. Well, we'll see. That's definitely plot related, but we'll see. Because I do want this to be a seaside town. Like, I do want this
Right.
town to be next to the ocean and like maybe some mountains nearby. Like, I want like a variety of locales kind of close
Mm-hmm.
by, but the thing that I was really set on was just having like the sea or maybe a large river, just some kind of water nearby.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so that gives me a lot to work with, so that sounds good. And the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this was an idea that Neil kind of brought up to me in chat in our Discord server. So if anyone's interested in contributing to chats about anything College of Lore related, feel free to find us on Discord. We'll have to share the link at some point.
Ooh, you know what? I don't think I put our Discord link in that most recent video that we just posted. We'll have to start adding that.
Yeah.
To our videos.
Yeah, we could probably post a link in the Twitch chat. But
yeah, I think most of the people here right now are already in it. Yeah. Right. So magic.
Okay. This was also suggested in a couple of world building videos that Neil directed me to as well, I think. So we were trying to look at what role does magic play in the world? And maybe even like what is the source of magic? Like maybe does the magic come from the wilderness around? Does it come from the earth? Maybe it's in the air. Maybe it's just everywhere. Maybe it comes specifically from
there's various sources.
Yeah, maybe there's various sources. Or
like in the base, D&D world, I'd say it's like some of all of those things, and it depends. Like where your magic comes from depends on what class you're playing, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like whether it's internal to you, or whether it's something that you apprenticed and learned, or whether it's from the gods, nature, etc. Those are all different like class sources of magic in my mind.
Yep.
But we could have it be that in this world there are specific sources of magic.
Yeah. Do we want to play with the fabric of magic in this world that we're building? Or do we want to just...
And even if we don't, there's other stuff that we can decide, like how common or rare it is.
Oh, and Neil says, or even just in the city. Maybe as you leave the city,
you find that magic is different.
And that's
elsewhere.
Why people are clinging to cities, maybe, or this city in particular.
Maybe, yeah.
So yeah, is it very common or rare? I was picturing that it would be rare enough that you guys might, if any of you were magic users, that you would be kind of special. It wouldn't be so, and maybe even some people would be kind of scared of magic users a little bit, but not to any huge extreme. Like I didn't want to make it something that was hindering your charisma checks or anything, but
right. So maybe a little more rare than in a typical campaign.
Yeah, just like to make it a little bit more special that like if you're a wizard and you're studying it, maybe you don't want to spread that around too much. Or if you're a sorcerer, maybe it, like when you found out you were a sorcerer, that moment might have been a little frightening to you because you didn't have much experience with magic prior. Maybe, if you're a warlock, that's kind of scary. Making a pact to get power would be maybe more difficult.
Right. So I'm going to say point D says, are the people who practice magic feared and or revered? What is the attitude towards magic? And so I think what we're saying is because it's a little bit rarer, there will be some kind of reaction towards your magic, but maybe that will vary based on where you are and who you're interacting with, and maybe even just like that, the individual's personality.
Exactly.
But it's rare. So it's like there will be people who are afraid and there will be people who are impressed and impressed. Yeah.
And Neil says, along the same lines as the moral implications of the disease, perhaps one or more spell casting classes were linked correctly or not to the plague. And also, is there a difference in the way divine versus arcane magic is viewed? Those are some things we should think about. Like, do we want, like maybe, I don't know, do we want that? Do we want it specific to, specifically linked? Like, have wizards and arcane casters been kind of, like, oh, you shouldn't be dabbling with that. You remember what happened the last time a wizard gained power. The plague.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we could. And that definitely would be good to know going into character creation.
Yes,
so that
definitely.
anybody who's choosing to make a character like that would know that that means your character might be like ostracized. Perhaps only sorcerers and warlocks. Yeah, I can see how sorcerers and warlocks, people might be a little more suspicious of that type of magic.
Like the innate or making a pact.
Yeah, wizards are regulated, and also like wizards are just more sort of um like academics. You know what I mean? Like wizards are just really advanced academics. And so they're kind of like, yeah, regimented, like scientific controlled. And so maybe they have some kind of
Academy
rules that they live by. Yeah, academy. And so it's all sort of on the up and up. But sorcerers, licenses.
This is funny. My friend Cam, we played a one shot for charity last year. Oh my God, was it last year already? And he played a sort of lawyerish character, or like sort of an official that was going around making sure that the magic users in the area were licensed. And he was with the party because two of the party members were basically being tested to see if they, were able to get their licenses. So it was really fun. And it's interesting because it's not something I would have thought of myself. So it's pretty interesting having that.
Yeah, his character really reminded me a lot of the Azorius Guild in the Magic the Gathering world, and I have that Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica source book in which you can play a character that is part of that guild, and so they're very like legal, paperwork oriented, and yeah. Low Kiwi is here.
Hi. I love you. Jake says, you may be entitled to compensation for magical malpractice.
Magical malpractice, yes. Okay, wizards are highly regulated, have licenses, academics. What about, and we're thinking maybe like sorcerers and warlocks, like that sort of magic isn't super trusted. What about like druid magic? I think clerics as well are generally trusted because of the divine source of their magic,
which is interesting, and it is a little like hypocritical, I think. It's like, we trust this kind,
but they're like, so maybe it's a bit of out of fear kind of thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
But it's like, especially in
like paladins,
like in the aftermath of a natural like disaster, like a plague, maybe people would have like hunkered down and doubled down on religion, right? Like,
yeah, definitely.
We really need to like please these guys.
Yeah, like maybe paladins are among the higher ranks of sort of, law enforcement and stuff like that.
So clerics / paladins are trusted generally because of the divine source of their magic. But yeah, what about something like a druid? Perhaps chaotic ones. Would all religions be sanctioned? Yes, placate those gods. Exactly.
So druids. I feel like maybe there are no druids in the town, and that druids would be some people that wouldn't be maybe in town, and if they're in town, maybe it's a secret. Maybe druids haven't been seen in a long time, and nature magic.
So druids aren't well known. If they are known, they are considered like legend.
Yeah. Because I feel like, so Neil says, all societies based on agriculture, which implies nature purists, or maybe they have filled the void left as society collapsed.
Nature priests. Sure, but that could just be a cleric, couldn't it? Doesn't need to be a druid.
Yeah, nature clerics and like path, or what is the paladin one? Ancients, Oath of the Ancients. I couldn't remember the word.
Yeah. That's the one that Neil's paladin has.
Yeah, my paladin's also Oath of the Ancients.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's interesting. Druids are not really a thing.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe some people, some like folklorists or whatever who've heard of druids, but like your normal Joe Schmo on the street would know what a wizard is and be like, wizards are cool, they're real smart, and they'd know
and
what a
they're
cleric
licensed.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'd be like, clerics are cool, and they'd know what sorcerers and warlocks are, and they'd be like, I've heard of those people. Okay.
Yep.
And you stay away from people like that, Jimmy and Billy. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Beware. What about birds?
But druids, people are like, what's a druid? You know?
Yeah. What about birds?
Yeah, bards.
I feel like they'd get like a
maybe bards aren't considered magical.
That's what I was gonna say.
By other people.
Yeah.
They're using magic, but they're doing it in this like
showmanship, entertainment,
subterfuge. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Neil says 85% of people are farmers, so maybe certain farmers living on the fringes know about druids. Yeah, I'd say. Like
maybe, like I said, there's people who would know about it, but I mean, I don't know. I don't mind the idea that druids specifically in this world, like, I mean, I think we could be able to roll druids.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if you were a druid, that would be like,
you might say you're a ranger.
Nobody in this town, yeah,
I'm a ranger.
Nobody in this town knows what that is.
Yeah.
So you probably would be coming into the adventure from like outside of town or something like that.
I like that. I think that's really interesting. I think coming up with things like this when you're starting a D&D campaign can really help people think about their character and what they could bring to it. And I definitely don't want to be like harboring anyone's interest. Like if someone was like, oh, I want it to be a druid, but I want it to be a druid that the town knew about or something, like,
well, we'll work with that. You can just work it all into that. Yeah, Neil and I were talking about that too, talking about how like this world building session is a good start, but it's not meant to be comprehensive. And a lot of the world building will happen when we're creating characters, and a lot of it will happen as the campaign like progresses.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So bards exist but aren't generally considered magical. Yeah, I like that. So people, like, maybe when bards are doing magic, and maybe it's kind of like a rogue being an arcane trickster, that it's a little bit like under the table, you know, like I'm enhancing my performance, but they're not thinking about it as magic.
Like there's like David Blaine or whatever. Yeah. And we're all like, wow, let's go watch it. But nobody thinks that he's like actually magical. We all know that there's some like
spoiler alert, Kate.
Well. So yeah, like that's how bards do. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I like this trick. What do you think of that? And they're doing magic, but they're just like pretending not to, because like that kind of magic is frowned upon right now. That weird, unpredictable magic. People are coming out of this like really uncertain time. There's rumors that magic like caused this plague, and so they are not fans of particular kinds of magic that are like unpredictable and hard to understand.
Neil is saying maybe bards can only use certain schools of magic, so illusion, alteration, divination, but not invocation, conjuration, or necromancy. But see, enforcing something like that would mean I would have to learn more about the different schools of magic.
Yeah, I think
it's too deep for me.
Maybe it's pretty specific.
Yeah. I like it. I think it's interesting, but I think it's just a little too deep for me. Yeah, so Jake, like healing spells and revivification spells are considered necromancy. But only for the purposes of entertainment.
Or for party morale. Like
Jake says, oh, I was picturing a troupe of dancing skeletons.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your backup singers or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
backup
awesome.
Dancers are like skeletons.
Yeah. That would be a very, very interesting performance.
The bard necromancer.
Yeah. So who didn't we touch on? So I think like classes that can kind of tap into magic after a certain point, like rogues, fighters, they get Eldritch Knight, I think. Rangers get magic. I think they would be kind of accepted just by like rogues wouldn't be talking about their roguery.
And this town that we're starting in, it's probably like a fairly low level town, right? Mm-hmm. So there's not going to be like many Eldritch Knights walking around.
No, exactly. So I think so I think Rangers would be the closest thing to being accepted, because they wouldn't even get magic till is it 3rd level? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
And Paladins, I think, are
I've
till
ever really
3rd.
rolled a Ranger.
Yeah.
And Paladins we're grouping Paladins with Clerics, I think.
Anyway, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe the town wouldn't have even really seen rogues before, except for like low level ones anyway, like you said. So they wouldn't have seen an arcane trickster.
Right. And how big is the town?
Okay, so I was thinking the town would be medium size. Not like a tiny town, but like medium. Like not nearly the scale of Waterdeep, which is huge, but like, something closer to small than large. So I'm thinking there's like a little castle in there. I'm not good with numbers, Neil. I am so sorry. There'd be, there's like docks. Neil is asking 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000, but I'm just like, I don't know. I can't visualize numbers in people for some reason, or numbers in money. Any big numbers, I'm just like, I can't.
I'm the same way with like town populations.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, I wonder, I'm trying to think of a town nearby that might be able to help
about
me.
The size that you're thinking. What about like
Truro?
Is Truro too big?
Yeah, I think like a bit smaller than Truro.
Let me see how many people are in Truro.
Yeah. 12,000 people is what Neil says.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I bet you he just knows. It's 12,826, Neil. Okay.
Yeah, get it right.
You need to update your lexicon.
But yeah, so maybe around 10,000 people. People. How many people are in Waterdeep, Neil? Let's see if you can get us some D&D stats. Oh, don't be sad. He put a sad face.
100,000?
There's no comma in that number, and I can't read it. Is that what that says? 100,000?
I think it's at 100. Or is it a million?
Oh, it's 1 million. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So, yes, I agree. 10,000 people is what I would like this town to be around.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay, let me write that down. I forgot that I was taking that.
Oh, and Neil says 1 million, which is ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
Yeah, tell us more. I want to. Oh, we're gonna open a lid on something we maybe shouldn't have opened a lid on just now.
10,000 as a large city, not really a town.
Okay.
Well,
we are starting at a large city then.
Okay. About 10,000 people.
Oh.
So anyway, so I'm down to 0.5 now because we're talking about the town, so that's where I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Do we want to skip into talking about the town, or do you want to talk about the other stuff?
Let's see, where are we? Okay, so let's just skip back up, I guess. How common are the gods of this world? Religion, what are the gods' level of involvement in the day-to-day lives of people? So we already touched a little bit on this by saying that clerics and paladins are a bit more revered and respected. But how, do the gods actually, if one of you guys rolls a cleric or a paladin or something like that, do you want to have your deity be, a big part of your game? I'm fine. I kind of think it would be, are the churches the government? Yeah, I would like to have that back and forth with people. I would really like to have the gods be, have a vested interest in everyone's well-being and stuff. And I think since we have made magic and in I think in my mind also that would mean heroes in general, because if we're making magic rare, I think it would make sense to make the highest fighters and the best of the best be also rare as well. So I think it would be kind of interesting to have your prayers be heard, and, you know, if you're believing in it, that you feel your prayers are heard.
Yes. So gods have a vested interest and are perhaps more directly actively involved
Yeah, I think that's fun, and I
in
think
this.
it gives the DM, me, a little something extra that I can, I don't know, kind of enjoy and play with.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like I think it makes sense to me. So the story that's forming in my mind is like this great tragedy happened,
Mm-hmm.
and people turned to religion to help solve it, because in D&D the gods do have strong power,
Mm-hmm.
and they were able to provide help, slowly but surely, and as a result, oh, I think our stream is paused, or at least it is for me. Yeah, and as a result, there's more strong and rampant support, religious support for the gods, and
Mm-hmm.
so they're more active now
Yeah.
because they're
And
being tapped.
conversely, I think that would mean that fiends and devils and the like would also be more active and present.
Sure.
Or maybe they haven't been for a long time. For now.
Mm.
So Neil brought up the question, are the churches the government? This one's tricky for me because I mean, I guess we could make it that way. And I
You
like,
know,
but I
if we
kind of wanted
choose
to have a
that,
monarchy at the same time. But that
well,
could be
so
intertwined anyway.
a religious
Yeah,
monarchy is kind of
it could just be what it is.
where monarchy, like, I mean, isn't that
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's how they
typically God
used
appointed the
their,
monarch?
yeah,
Yeah.
or advising the monarch. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I guess they could be. I'm not sure how much into government and politics this adventure will go, because I am not personally well versed in those things. So I'm not sure how much I could bring to the table DMing it, but I guess I could surprise myself. Maybe in 3
Why? It's
years
not
we'll look back and be
Yeah.
like, Jill thought she wasn't going to do politics. So,
Okay, so it's not necessarily monotheistic, Neil.
yeah.
Is it impossible that the gods could, like, democratically elect a monarch?
I don't see why not. This is our world.
Yeah.
We can do whatever we want.
Like, our monarchs have been elected or are from a monotheistic perspective, but it doesn't have to be that way. It's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I'm gonna put this question here. Wait, are the churches the government? And the answer is maybe. Even
they're at least
if
hugging cousins. Ugh. Where did that come from? They're at least related in some way.
But there could be strong links between religion and at least local politics. How does that sound?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps there's only one church, one organization representing all the gods. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so
communication. Or actually, are we done with this? I think I got what I needed out of it. I just wanted to know, and I guess voice my preference for having the gods be very involved. And I think everyone is okay with that, I hope, anyway. So communication, how easy or difficult is the communication of this world? How are letters sent between towns? If there is, at this point, I'm wondering, is there communication between towns?
Yeah. So we'll say difficult.
Difficult, yeah.
Because Because by default,
Yeah.
there's been no communication,
Right.
I think.
Yeah. Maybe they
Are
haven't
they
heard.
sent? Yeah, exactly. Like
They
I
haven't
think
heard of other
I think when
towns.
we start, it's like the town is all that exists. Like we know that
Mm-hmm.
there's other places and that there's a vast world,
Mm-hmm.
but
Most of the town folk don't.
there's no regular communication. We're running our own stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine a lot of infrastructure has fallen apart, Jake
Yeah.
says. Yeah, so like methods that used to be used aren't currently being used.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really any current communication outside of the town.
Mm-hmm. Neil says the start of reestablishing contact, abandoned road networks.
Yeah.
There's like one mailbox outside the town, and then one day the little red flag is up.
I'm thinking of putting like perhaps a hook of some kind could be like reestablishing these communication networks.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps some people are trying to reestablish.
Like that could be like maybe one of the characters has that as a goal or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And Neil
foreign
says,
ship appears. Neil really wants a ship to show up.
I noticed that. I noticed that.
Or we crew a ship setting out to explore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Luckily, when we start playing, you'll be able to make those decisions in game. It's like, I want a boat.
All right. Give me a boat.
Okay.
Like, all right.
It's expensive.
It costs you $1
million.
Exactly. Oh, that's actually something that I was thinking about that's maybe not on here. But is currency the same? Like, are we keeping currency?
Yeah, I don't want to mess around.
Changed?
I don't want to mess around with currency. I feel like that's... Okay. I mean, we'll just stick with the gold, silver, copper.
Jake, what you would do is you'd be like, so he says, as the DM, how annoying would it be if all your players decided to get on a ship and go to a whole different place?
It wouldn't be annoying at all. What?
Do you know what I would do?
What?
If it really was like, I put a bunch of work into this town. There's two ways you could do it. One way is like, all right, you show up at town B.
Yeah.
And it just has all the shit that
That's
had
what you
planned
do.
For town
That's
A in it.
Exactly
Or I might be like, okay, you travel for like a day and then you wake up in the morning and you see a little town in the distance and you get there and it's like the town that you left.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then you get back in the ship and you're like, okay, no, I don't know what happened. We must have got turned around. But you leave and then the next day you wake up and it's like, you're back at the town.
Yeah, exactly. Both of those solutions are perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then both Neil and Jake were like, a storm or a storm blows your ship right back where it came from. Yeah, exactly.
We buy a ship to go on it's winter now. There's ice.
You're just iced in. Now you have to try and make the dangerous trek back to town.
I rolled a die and it said winter. It's not I'm not trying to wreck your fun.
I rolled a D4. It landed on winter.
This is starting to sound like some weird meta campaign where the players become aware they are in a simulation and try to find evidence of the existence of the DM. That's hilarious.
I am all the deities.
Yep. And all the NPCs.
Okay, so now we're going to be starting our game in a town near the sea that is in a country or continent under rule of a royal family. Those are the things that I had in mind when I wanted to run this game.
Okay.
So what are some interesting features of this town? So we know it has about 10,000 people. Is there anything else that comes to mind to make this town interesting? We already know that maybe it's the only place that magic exists. Maybe it's the only town that exists in the whole world. We don't know. They don't know. We've already kind of mentioned that there's farming around the town. There's probably a lot of fisher people. So
you have a question here. how does the town make money?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think that really fits because if they are the only. Because
But maybe we can put like things like farming and fishing under there. It's not going to be like we're
like
just
they're not
sort
doing
of
trade,
self-sustaining.
but yeah.
Yeah. Fishing, farming, hemp for rope, linen for sails.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So self-sustaining, that kind of stuff.
Oh, Jake says everyone in the town survived and seems to be immune to the plague.
Yeah. There hasn't been any new gold or silver for generations. Yeah, okay. So like they aren't miners. Like they're not mining or smelting or anything like that, really. So maybe that means that new weapons and new armor and yeah, maybe armor, weapons and stuff, none of it's new anymore. Maybe they and maybe they don't, maybe there's a lot of like wooden stuff, but maybe there's not much new metal.
Yes. So
one blacksmith and like they're melting down old things to make new ones. Like there's
what would you call this? Not very rich in minerals?
Yeah.
So metals.
Yeah, smiths would be revered. Yeah. One smith maybe working for the monarchy.
Armor is
expensive
and rare and carefully repaired. I mean, I think that would be true generally speaking, but there would still be a city worth of metal. Sure.
Yeah, but people have it. It's not like sitting in the store waiting to be bought. This is my old great grandmother's breastplate. I'm not getting rid of it. It's in my attic.
Cool. Right, and hand it down to the kids. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so like there's not as many smiths in this town as there would normally be, because before all of this happened, this town was probably importing that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
And like, if people sailed away with gear and never came back, then that's just less and less in town. It's like we're going on a quest to see if we can, do whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Find more people or sail across the ocean and
yeah. Okay. Maybe the royal family has done a few collections of pots, etc., to make new weapons
over the years. Yeah, definitely.
And they can now use like ceramics for like dishes and stuff. Maybe they use ceramics for some kinds of armor.
Yeah. Maybe there's there'd be like a lot of leather, maybe. Because I'm picturing like outside of the town is like maybe forest, because I feel like things would have grown back a lot with people not out there very far. So so lots of leather.
Farmland to support like the town, like crops and stuff. But then after that, it's forest.
Yeah.
And I guess not a lot of mountains if there's not.
No mines.
Yeah.
Okay. And then people are too scared to go deep in the forest because the plague. Like, are we scared of?
We're supposed to be staying close.
Rumors,
especially
maybe.
Since we've been so
druids.
Since we've been so druids.
Scary druids.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Other questions we had are about how common various races are in the town. If there's any like variety. Well, we just talked about the surrounding area, so farmlands and forests.
I think for the races in this town, I think there'd be a variety because before the plague, it was a seaside town.
Yeah.
And then everyone just kind of got trapped here. I think there'd be like a lot of half orcs, half elves, half oh, true. They would have lived through the pandemic. They might have some memory of that. Oh no, I thought we said generations.
Generations.
So it was like hundreds of years ago.
Some of them may have better memory than others. But yeah, I like the idea of there would be a lot of diversity, lots of half races, because before the plague, it was a larger trading town.
Yeah. I was thinking more like 500 years, Neil. Lots of generations.
Yeah, we didn't say a specific number of generations.
Yeah, I said 100 earlier, and then when you said generations, it made me think, yeah, let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Because that gives me more room too, because like I want to play with this plague idea. You know what I mean?
You don't want it to be like, oh, the plague is a mystery to you, but you meet one elf and he explains it all.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we? Various races. So yeah, and I think it might be kind of interesting too if anyone wanted to be like a half tiefling or a half orc, half tiefling, or like a quarter or something. Like maybe if anyone was interested, we could play around with the races a little bit because this town, this city, I'm going to keep calling it a town. I don't care that it's a small city. I'm calling it a town. Or whatever city. It's a town to me. So I feel like it would be like if anyone wants to play around with the race combinations, we could talk about that, create some new stuff if people are interested. Cool.
I like it.
Also, is there a lot of abandoned buildings? Has the population shrunk? I don't think the population would have shrunk very much because they had enough food.
Yeah, if we're going with this, everyone in the town survived and seems to be immune to the plague, then it doesn't seem like...
Maybe that's why they have to break out, because it's grown. And now they're getting to the point where it's not very sustainable. Like maybe it's a town of 10,000, but the town was only supposed to house 8,000 or 7,000. Yeah, gotta find new land.
Cool. So the population has been slowly growing and there is a need to find new land.
And keep in mind, this isn't necessarily even tied to anything the PCs are worried about. This is still just
This is just the backdrop of what's happening in this town.
Right. Maybe there are mountains that are hemming us in and we don't know how to mine. Yeah, maybe previously that was another town's territory and they had all the mines and they were happy to do trade with the fisher people. And now... Yeah.
Interesting.
Have to get past the forest and past the mountains to get to uncharted territory. Yeah.
Right. Or just hop in the water.
Or hop in the water. Boat. Yeah, but maybe there's like mountains around there's only like one little opening and it's kind of dangerous. Like, you know, Moana, remember when she's like trying to get in the little hole in the like volcanic mountain, you know?
Oh yeah. Or like it's just like a huge cliff waterfall.
Oh, ooh, spoopy.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Neil. Neil says Moana, the best Disney movie. I agree. I love that movie.
Good. Very good.
I cry the whole time I watch it. Anyway, let's move on before I cry.
Okay. See, Jill, you actually had a question in here about religion and its interaction with the local government. So don't pretend like you didn't want to do political stuff.
Well, it was something I knew that Neil would ask, so I had to put it in there.
I was right. Answered above.
Yeah.
Because we already typed about that stuff.
Yeah.
Religion and how that will relate to the government.
Right. Yeah. Is Neil impressed that I psychicked him and then forgot?
I don't know.
How
But he's praying
advanced?
to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
How advanced is the technology in this town? Do we want black powder to be common or rare? Well, judging by the situation that we've all discussed already, I think black powder would be very rare.
Yeah.
Neil says he's all the impressed. I've done it. I can rest easy tonight.
Woohoo! You win the DM game. So I'm just gonna put very rare.
Yeah.
Again, that's sort of stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah. So if someone wants to be a gunslinger, for example, one of the sort of like a out of the normal scope class, we'll talk about it because it'll be kind of tricky and probably kind of expensive, but we could figure it out.
But again, you might have
to be a
you might have come
royalty.
from outside.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Or one of the royal family.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Ooh. What are some rumors circulating about the town?
Yeah, I got this. You know where I got this? From Kids on Bikes.
Yeah.
I thought that world building in Kids on Bikes was so interesting. I wanted to pull a little bit of that into D&D.
That whole story came from the rumors that you guys came up with. That was like the whole story. Everything that happened came from those rumors.
Yeah, it was so cool. I thought that was really fun. And I mean, if we end up with a few rumors, that will definitely influence where I go with this story.
Mm-hmm.
Neil says,
this would be, I guess, is this rumors within the town of stuff that's happening in the town?
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe we can say the local baker has a stash of gold bars or iron ore in the basement.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or like maybe rumors about what's in the forest. You know, is there something in the forest that the children are scared of other than druids, which could also be something the kids are scared of. The royal family are rumored to be secret sorcerers or werewolves. Ooh, I like that.
I'll write it down. Family. Some people say sorcerers, some people say werewolves.
Yeah, they argue about it, but never in front of the
I heard
paladins.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Some other rumors. Let's see. Is there a lower layer of nobility? Neil's asking.
Just like the real royal family.
Yeah, just like the real life royal family, says Jake.
What do you think about a rumor that the fertility of the land around the town is consistently degrading year after year? Like crop yields are going down.
Yeah. That's interesting because it's like when you're trying to remember what the weather was like last year. Like instead of like keeping track of it in my journal or something, I'm trying to remember what it was like in May, and I'm like, oh, spring is so late this year. But I don't know if that's true because I can't actually remember last year because I think I felt the same way last year. Civil unrest, says Neil.
Yeah. As a result of the
both probably.
Decreased crop yields, you mean? Yeah.
And maybe the fishing, or maybe there's something in the water that's making the fishermen scared to fish and they're having less luck fishing, or fisher people.
So it's not even just land, but also this is also affecting fishing?
Yeah, like maybe there's something in the water, like a creature, like rumor of a creature in the water, and old, Flayla, the fisher person, is claiming that she saw something.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Let's just do Moana.
Oh, let's throw all this out and do Moana.
Yeah. I didn't even
Who wants
think
to be Moana?
No, I do.
Everybody's Moanas. Actually, someone has to be Pua.
My monk character was called Nomana because she was basically Moana.
Yeah. That was fun. Hey.
I want to be hey.
Coconut. Hiding the...
Yeah.
That was good. Uh...
Jake, you got a rumor? I'll be the anthropomorphized ocean.
Perfect. Perfect. Can you write,
awesome.
so I don't forget, but like something in, like a creature in the water?
Yep.
Jake says about a secret stash of metals.
Ooh.
Like someone is holding out, hoarded by ancestors of one of the town's rich families. And this actually ties into something Neil said earlier, asking about like a lower layer of nobility. And I'd say there's probably a few nobles that may have, you know, paladins in the family or clerics in the family. And they, you know, they use that to leverage their class. Or, you know, they have this stash of ore and they're using it, but not divulging where their riches are coming from.
Yeah, like their armor and weapons are always like looking really good and fresh and new, but it's like, oh, we just polished it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Religious, Neil says, religious status equals class power. Yeah, yeah. A little bit of that going on. Okay, so I guess the last thing that I was curious about is just like a preference thing for the players, or, you know, if anyone's watching you and you are interested in me exploring that locale, feel free to chime in. But what are some environments you'd like to explore in this campaign? Like, is there anything that you are I mean, I feel like Neil wants to explore the ocean, and that is...
Yeah, it seems like ships might be
so sea
interesting
voyage
to people.
Yeah.
I don't have
Kate?
any particular
You don't have
preferences
anything?
personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake, do you have any? Or Kiwi, if you're still out there, do you have anything that you think would be really cool? Or anyone watching? Coast, islands, forest, mountains, the rest of the... Okay, so everything. Interested in all of it. Neil is a vote for everything. As a port town... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh.
No, you.
No, you. Okay, I'll do it. Okay. And Jake says, as a port town, I'm imagining there might be a lot of colorful characters in the neighborhood near the harbor. Yeah, definitely, like having that sort of dockside interest there. Aw. Neil says, I'll go where you send us.
Some kind of shanty town of poor fishermen. Maybe a black market mixed in.
Yeah.
Nice.
I like that.
Men. Fisher people.
Fisher peoples. Exploring islands. Yes. Different islands. Different mysterious islands, maybe.
This is all sounding very nautical.
Yeah, we might be doing a nautical campaign, friends. Fisher folks. Oh,
Fisher
I like that.
folks.
I like
that.
That
works.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good to me. I mean, when I was envisioning this, I wasn't envisioning us going the sea route. I mean, I put the ocean there because I did want the option. I didn't want people to feel like I was dodging the ocean. But if everybody's interested in that, we can head out there.
Yay.
But I mean, it'll take some time. We're
only going to need to take the sailor background. Or at least one of us will.
Okay, friends. Well, I think I have a lot to work with, and I'm really excited. I also think sometime down the road we should do I feel like this is kind of like session 0.5 or -1, and then we should do a session -0 where we roll the characters based on what we came up with in session -1, which is this.
That's so funny.
But you know what I mean? I think we should get together, and I mean, people can think of their characters and do whatever, but I think we should get together to roll our characters together and talk about the relationships and maybe not necessarily rolling them together, because people can like roll the dice and do all that on their own time, but figuring out relationships, figuring out backstories together, figuring out
who is your character going to be?
Yes.
What kind of class do you want to play?
Exactly.
But yeah, like your specific stats, we don't need to roll that.
No.
In session,
and like obviously our characters are like all the players will be able to keep secrets from each other. We will just discuss the stuff that each other might know easily about each other, but we can always keep a lot of it secret.
Yeah.
Neil says, are you going to share a summary of the stuff we would know? Yeah, I think you guys would know all of this stuff. This is why I wanted to do this world building together, is because this I will share in our Discord if anyone wants to join our Discord. I will share this, and this is the stuff that all the players would know, or all the characters would know. They would know the rumors. They would know about how many people are in town. They would know the sort of hierarchy.
Yeah.
If when I'm coming up with plot stuff, or if one of your characters wants to come from somewhere else, we can discuss that one-on-one and see how that fits into the town, and why are you there, where'd you come from, and we can discuss that in private.
If there's stuff that you don't want the other people to know.
Yeah, well, I feel like all that stuff would be stuff the other players shouldn't know. Like if they're coming from another town, the rest of the players should still only think there is the one town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where my mind is at right now. This was
an interesting,
a fun exercise. I like our little world that we've kind of generated together. Is there any final things we should? Can you think of anything that I should have added to this, or can you guys think of anything that we didn't touch on?
Is something missing?
Yeah. Are we missing anything about this town we could figure out right now before we say goodbye? If anyone wants to suggest what are my thoughts on cake? I think there would be a good bakery in the town, because cake is very important to me. And I think it would be a very nice shop front. Yeah, lots of cake. Yeah. So there'd be like windmills. There'd be a couple windmills on the outskirts of town.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay. Well, if there's no other things, feel free to.
We can keep the discussion going on Discord if you think of anything. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good start, I think, for sure. And we don't want to go too ham right now before we've done character development. I think, right? Like I said, we'll naturally build on this while we're developing our characters.
Yeah.
Right. So each person's character will be like, all right, well, I grew up in this part of the town, and my parents were so and so, and then that's now like canon part of the town, right?
Exactly. And I think I do have some basic plot ideas, but I think a lot of my story is going to be built off the players' backgrounds and their personal goals
and their motivations.
And that's gonna somehow tie into the whole adventure, whether it's through the main plot line, or maybe their little side plot lines will tie in, or maybe they won't, and maybe they'll just achieve them separately. I don't know yet. But I definitely want that information before I put anything in stone.
Even though there's not a lot of stone around to put stuff in.
Yeah, no. It's all underground now. Like they just don't know how to dig it up.
Paper. Yeah.
All right, friends. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Brick.
This is really fun to watch. Nice. Thank you. Well,
thanks for watching, Kiwi.
I love these little collaborative creative streams that we do. Like it was very similar when we did the background stream. So I think that we'll keep doing different things like this. So yeah.
So thanks for watching, and make sure you're following us and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube later.
Yep.
Bye.
We're so good at plugging ourselves.
I know.
Bye, everybody.